Hey guys, winter is upon us, and so I'm just going to take this 4x8 trailer that's got some wood decking on it and going to try to refinish and just put some weather seal on it. I've thought about sanding it, but I'm going to see how we do with just a good old Sunjoe pressure washer and take that layer off and clean it up, let it dry, and then we're going to take some of this Behr Premium. It's just a cedar natural tone stain with sealer built into it, so I've used it. We've got another video where we refinished a playhouse. That one we did sand down pretty well down to a good base layer before we put that on. So I'm just going to see what it does with a power washer and just kind of be quick and simple. Don't have a lot of time, so let's just jump into it and see what happens here. Alrighty, here we go. Yeah, you can already see it's compared to the more faded, grayish color that wood gets in the sun. Well, it's already looking a lot better underneath. So we'll just keep going. Well, you can already tell that that's looking a lot better. You can see all the older wood kind of coming off that top layer at least, and got a lot of that dirt and grime out of there that washed away and got pretty well cleaned up. I mean, there's some fuzzies in here I'm gonna take care of here, but other than that, I'm kind of thinking about this piece right here. And yeah, I might try to just trim that off a little bit so it doesn't keep running. And a lot of that's pretty rough. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually sand it. I want it to kind of look uniform at least, all the way down. If you were to sand it, you get it down to a lot lighter wood, and that cedar natural tone will really pop a lot more. But just getting that top layer off, you're going to see a lot of the wood grain and the knots and stuff in there. And I mean, it's a utility trailer. I'm not too worried about looks as much as just being protected from the elements. So I got this wasp here that's liking me, but yeah, let's get a coat on here and let's see what it starts looking like. We're just gonna let this dry for a little bit. Let me turn this off. We're just gonna let this dry out here for probably a couple hours at least, so that way it's nice and ready for that coat of that that Behr stain and sealer. But as I mentioned, just getting all that dirt and grime off there is going to help a lot, just so that that stain will adhere to the wood a lot better and stick to it. So now it's all nice and clean. Just got to let it dry for a little bit, and then we'll come out and give that a shot, see what it looks like. All right, so I actually gave this a couple days to dry. You know, if you've got the time, I would say maybe a few hours the wood should dry out. But if you have the time, you know, waiting a day or two just to let that wood thoroughly dry out would probably be most helpful. And you can tell it turned out pretty good just from pressure washing. Now I did do just a tiny bit of sanding with this little hand sander right here, this little Rigid I've got, just battery powered, kind of a coarser grit, just to kind of take care of some of those areas that were kind of splintering up a little bit, and just to make sure I'm not catching the nap on this roller, and make it a little bit better, you know, when you're using it, so you're not getting a lot of splinters. There's just kind of that one problem area that I ended up just kind of trimming that off. But again, if I was worried about the looks, I probably would have definitely gone through and sanded this pretty heavily, because you can tell, like in these areas that you kind of get down into that wood grain just a little bit better, and that's going to look even better after you get this stain on there, if you can get down to that wood grain all across the board. But pretty happy just with how it turned out, with a tiny bit of effort with the pressure washing and just a little bit of sanding on the surface to get, you know, again, just some of those rougher areas off. But I've got the cedar natural tone stain and sealer ready to rock and roll. I just went through and took some painter's tape, taped these edges along the edges here, just along the metal framing just around the edge that kind of locks those boards in. But I've got enough of a gap right here along the edge, and I'm not going to tape the long edges here. And just a couple other tools I used. Just had to take a hammer to one of the spots that had a nail sticking up. Used just kind of one of these little picks that helped me get some of the stuff out from between some boards, and of course the painter's tape to get ready to run that stain across. So I gave it a good sweep here after running that sander just across a couple areas, make sure that the wood's nice and cleaned off and ready for the stain, and I'm not going to have a bunch of garbage sticking to that roller nap there. So anyway, we're just going to go ahead and get started here. All right, so kind of just starting out here, took the paintbrush and just went around these edges here on the front and back, but then I also just got in between each of the boards, just obviously not going to get in there with a roller. So, and then just did any like these knots that are maybe a little bit deeper that we know the roller is not going to get into very well. So now we're just going to go ahead and get started with the roller here. All right, so we're kind of running low on daylight here. It's getting into the evening and it's a little overcast, but I mean, you can kind of see that we got a pretty good layer with that roller, and it got in between a lot of those, you know, little cracks and things in the wood. So we'll check it out in the daylight, let this dry. Might rain tomorrow, but this stuff says it's good within about 3 to 4 hours. So we'll give this a check and just maybe put a second coat on if it needs it. But again, this stuff's pretty thick, and it's got water sealer in there, so should do really well to just keep this protected from, you know, rain and snow sitting on top of it through the winter. So pretty happy with how it turned out. I was a little bummed at first because, It's not the same stuff we used on our play set, which was definitely more of a stain, and I realized this was still the cedar natural tone, but it's a solid color, and so that's why we're not seeing some of that wood grain pop. But the more I thought about it, I wasn't as bummed because we didn't have a really good sand on these boards here, so we weren't getting down to that wood grain, and it really wasn't going to look as good as maybe you would want it to with an actual stain. And this stuff went on really thick, being a solid color, so I think we got better coverage, and it'll be better protection, and just, you know, preserve the life of this wood for many years to come. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it, and you know, it looks pretty good just standing back here and kind of seeing what it looks like now versus before. So anyway, if you have any questions, comments, please throw those in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, a like on the video, as well as, you know, subscribe to the channel if you're wanting to see some more projects like this one. It really helps us out. So thanks for watching.